Morning, ma'am. Thank you for joining us so early in the morning. Uh, Ma'am, your mic is muted.
Hi everyone. I was just figuring out I'm using MacBook for the first time and it's a little difficult. Okay, figure it out.
Please let me know when you're ready to start.
Yes, absolutely. I'm ready.
Good evening, everyone, and again, good morning to ma'am. So, Dr. Khushboo Saha is a Hardonian of 2015 batch. She has recently matched into Child Neurology in University of Southwestern Texas, Dallas, and we are really happy to have her here because she wants to share her knowledge and her experience with all of us. And now we will be starting with this session. We'll be asking some questions, and she will happily answer them. Go into USMLE specific answers and questions, I wanted to ask, why did you choose US over India?
Mm, that's a very good question. And I guess that's the genesis of our journey towards US. Um, so I would say to be very, oh, just a second. No, Jackson. I am actually, just a second, I'm fostering one of my chief's dogs, and I think he's taken into mouth something. Just a second, I have to make sure he doesn't aspirate himself. Jackson, no. Okay, I have this. Sorry. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Okay. So regarding US, I would say, to the certain aspects that we are unaware, is something that US healthcare system is a very different sort of healthcare system. It's it's based on mostly specialized care and a referral system. In India, as a physician, when you graduate out of med school, you start doing your PG preparation, you get into a PG. The most important aspect that people do talk about is the work life balance. That is why we do prefer US over India, because work life balance not in just terms of your life itself, but just like doing other stuff as a physician. There are a lot of components which are a part of being a physician, and and that includes research, that includes advocacy, that includes community outreach activities. uh, so there are certain, I would say, struggles that we have to face, and something that I've been trying to overlook. When I was a med student, I was like, no, 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 this is the best thing. This is what we have to do. Uh, but the struggles being from the administration part. To have them take us seriously is something that everybody's been trying to, you know, just trying to struggle through that. So I feel one thing that I did miss a little bit was the aspect of unity, and I have seen I mean, tremendous amount of that in my junior batches. I'm so proud of you guys, and you should focus on being a batch. You're not individuals. We cannot get anything done if we're individuals. If we're a batch of 250 students, now I guess that's what the strength is, right? That is a huge amount. That's a huge amount. So use your numbers as your strength, um, and the collective idea for just advocating for each other. So I would say standing up for each other, advocating for each other is something that is a quality that should be harnessed and should be cultivated, especially in our college, because nobody would stand up for you. And we face that in and out, that unless we stand up for ourselves, we are not going to get what we deserve. And we deserve a lot more than we are actually getting. So, to keep everything aside, I would say it's a wonderful experience, those 5.5 years, whichever college you choose, whether it's Harding, whether it's any other college. What matters the most is that you cherish and you harness the most out of that experience. And I've had wonderful friends, I've had wonderful experiences, tons and tons of experiences that have made me who I am, and they have really garnished my life with the best. So, yeah, Harding has been very close to me and still close to me.
Since you talked about the bonding and the peer support, how do you feel about the junior senior relationship at Harding?
I would say work in progress. That would be my word for that. There's a lot to be done at this stage. It's still very fragmented. Um, I have seen better junior senior relationships now that I'm coming to US, and I see the alumni supporting you. Our alumni is also very strong here in US. They are ready and willing to support you at every stage. But the fact is that we are not able to reach them out on time. So this is something that I would say, like, tali dono hathon se bachti hai. So both the seniors and juniors have to approach each other. It would be a little difficult for seniors who are out of college because they're dealing with 100 other issues in their life, which is of higher priority. And sometimes, when they're just drinking tea or having that self-realization moment that, okay, I need to give back to my college, I need to give back to my juniors, is when they think about the juniors. So I would say, like, juniors need to know that it's their right and it's their birthright by being in Harding to approach their seniors. Don't be afraid of them if you have any bad experiences with any of the seniors, or if they just, like, kind of be like, don't disturb me, or just like, don't approach me. I don't think anybody has done this so far, but even if that's happened, like, I would say consider that they might be in a very, you know difficult zone, or maybe just like dealing with a lot of stuff which is not present when you're a medical student. So just give them the benefit of doubt. Go ahead. And I would say, when once the juniors unite with amongst each others and we see that happening in front of us, we are inspired as seniors to come bring back our, you know just bring back our experiences to our group. So we have a lot to do. I would say our alumni has to develop a lot, thinking of certain ways to build that up. I feel having a Twitter channel that is being run by the current students council is going to be very, very beneficial, because that Twitter is one of the ways where you can get a lot of people. WhatsApp has its own limitations, but you can be up to date with information and you can connect with a lot of people. So I would say that is one of my recommendations that I would like you guys to include in your you know work list, and make that a work in progress. I know there's a lot of things to do on your plate. You have to take care of your own life and your own career. But if something you guys want to do to unite and work on the junior relation progress, I would say an active social media way to reach out to all the seniors, because we have a lot of Hardunians who are at wonderful places. They're doing wonderful job every single year, every single moment. And if we reach out to them, we'll have a lot of resources in our bucket for you guys to, look forward to.
Yeah, we are really thankful to have seniors like you who look after us. Moving on to the next question. Were you part of any society or SLM group, and what was your experience there?
hmm So yeah, I was part of the debating society. I was part of the photography society. I was involved with the arts. I was actually involved with a lot of societies. Not like I would say, I mean, on paper, but like the most important societies I was involved with was debate, photography, sports, and the SLM Tobacco Cessation group with Dr. Tanmay Talukdar. And my experience was wonderful. I would say nothing to only, I mean, I can only account for all the experiences, all the wonderful people I've been with, the things I've learned, especially with debating, the kind of critical thinking that you develop and that you work on. And you necessarily don't need to have debating skills like the commercial debating skills we see on media, and the shouting and all of that. That is not required. What is required is just a sense and an enthusiasm to think critically and think beyond what you see in front of you. So that is something that they help you develop and keep you updated with whatever's happening around. And it's very essential at the end of the day. And as a physician, when you're working, I mean, as any working professional, especially as a physician, it's so much more required to think critically and to stand up for your cause, and at the same day, think what's missing and how you can add onto your experiences. Um, the other, so I've always played basketball since I was a kid, and that is something I wanted to be in basketball, and we did win against UCMS once, if I remember correctly, and we have a good old animosity. No, I wouldn't say animosity, just like a player competitor, just bare animosity against Mamsi, which we were able to thrash them once. I hope, I mean, my roommate is from Mamsi, so I don't care, even if they look at it and feel as if we're targeting them. It's fine, it's an age old thing. But that was fun as well. I would say SLM was a beautiful experience. I don't know how active SLM is at this stage, but the Tobacco Cessation group, when it began, we undertook so many activities. These were hands-on community outreach activities that we conducted. We trained students, and till date, I'm using those questionnaires. I'm using that knowledge and that training to help with tobacco cessation with parents who have children with asthma exacerbations coming in with every clinic visit. And the question that you ask them, are you smoking inside the house? They're like, no, we don't smoke inside the house. We smoke outside the house. It was very good, amazing work. So I would say all these things add up to who you become at the end of the day. They might not directly translate into just, I would say, measurable skills when you use them for your curriculum building, but they make you who you are. And at the end of the day, when you reflect back on your experiences, what you learn from medical college, it should not just be medical training. It should be a very well rounded personality so that when given a task, you can think about that task from different angles. You can think holistically and you can provide in a more wholesome manner. So, yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to be a part of Tobacco Cessation Group.
Well, that was enriching, great. I'd like to take over now. We can maybe shift to the more specific questions pertaining to the MLA now. So, the first few questions that I'd like to ask, as in a continuation of what you said, is reaching out to alumni. So, I would want to know how have the alumni supported you, and at what points do you think reaching out to them is going to be beneficial for us? And we should contact the alumni.
Yeah, I would say you should contact the alumni period. That's what it is. How you would benefit is basically dependent on who you
काम चल
contact,
रहा है
how
मेरा
you contact. There are a lot of alumni, specifically starting from the fact that we all need clinical experiences when we come to US. We need physicians, we need mentors who can just like help us build our application together. And you might not directly be able to get observerships or clinical externships through this alumni because you have to go through the graduate medical education. But what you can get is somebody who's in the institution, advocate for you, advocate for your application, not in terms of matching, but in terms of at least getting a clinical experience. So that way you have a personalized relationship with somebody who already shares something with you in the background, and they can help you have a more, I would say, a better experience, because here you need to find your own people so that they can advocate for you. Otherwise, it becomes a little challenging and you have to overcome a lot of obstacles to get the best of it. Unfortunately, I don't know, that is the case. It's not very standardized, especially for an IMG. When you come out here, when you're seeking experiences, it might look great on paper. They might charge you thousands of dollars, but what you get out of that is going to be very, very I don't know. It just like depends on a lot of other factors. So that way, that is the first way you can start by approaching alumni. They also help you find out a lot of like non-clinical experiences, just like being in the city, reaching out to them for mental support, for physical, just social support and emotional support. They're always there to help you out with groceries, go for shopping, find out a place of accommodation. Might as well offer you a place to stay with you. And I would say the more recent ones, the ones who are residents and who are staying all by myself, I'm more than willing to house anybody who comes to Dallas, or just reach out to your seniors and who's staying otherwise. I'm lucky enough to have a very, very big apartment. I don't know how. It's costing me a lot, but I would love to host anybody who comes over and finds something around. So that ways, these are just little ways how your seniors can support you. I mean, I understand sometimes there are limitations. There are juniors who reach out to me and say they want a clinical experience in UT Southwestern, and I have to I have to tell them that you have to approach through the graduate medical education committee. As an intern, I can't go up and take your application and be like, okay, give this person an observership. That would not happen. Our powers, our abilities are very limited in the institution because it's a very, very big institution. So when it comes to that, I might not be able to do that at this stage. Maybe when I or anybody else is practicing, they might be able to directly get you a clinical experience. But nonetheless, they're definitely a very good resource, and there are lots and lots of Hardonians. I just, to my unfortunate luck, when I was doing my observership at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, I was under my wonderful mentor, Dr. Sonika Agarwal. She is not a Hardonian, but what I found out was there was a Hardonian in the Department of Hemato-Oncology, and she was, I think, a very old batch. I don't even remember now, but I just found out by chance. I approached her. She was so happy to just know that I'm here. We were not able to meet, unfortunately, because of our scheduling differences, but still date, I know, I mean, I've been updating her with my progress, and I look forward to meeting her whenever I go to Philadelphia next time. But that's the wonderful, and I was lucky enough to meet somebody who is from Harding, who did her residency from Harding, and she's in pediatric endocrinology at UT Southwestern. So I was just referring one of my patients to her, and she was the on-call physician in endocrinology. And then she looked at my picture and she saw, oh, you're MBBS from Harding, you're this batch, and we just connected. And I'm still waiting for her to be a little more, just a little more available from her postings so that I can meet her in person. But the very, very, like, especially when you go so away from your home and from your homeland, you have, better and stronger desires to connect with your people. So harness those desires as a junior, especially when you're there.
Do we have a database or something that we can reach out to them, or do you think we can create one with our alumni in it?
Oh, we have one WhatsApp group which has a lot of alumni, but it's mostly
Okay.
like older batches. I'm not sure if that has more recent batches. The ones who are attendings and physicians right now, working right now, most of them are retired physicians in that group. But I would say starting from that group, it's called the LHMC Alumni Association of North America, LHMC ENA group. Uh, and Dr. Kumkum Bhasin is the administrator of that group, and you can reach out to her. The second thing I would definitely urge you is the way I know UCMS has a Twitter handle, and they keep everything updated through that Twitter handle. I'm not sure if Ames has one. I think Ames has one too. I would say we have to build one, not the director one, but the alumni one, the one that has all the students, the current students, the alumni, and you can reach out to so many more people who are active in the everywhere around the world, not just US, but in UK and other places, wherever they are, they can reach out to you because it's a more it's more widely present. So that would be really, really helpful if you guys could work on that. And we would try to provide you as much support. At least I can say for myself that I try to help you out. This is something that I was thinking of when I was going through Twitter, that this is something that almost everybody uses now for keeping themselves updated. So definitely that would be a very, very useful resource for everybody.
Correctly. So, as a practicing resident, what is your point of view on PEDS and PEDS neuro as a branch? What has been your experience in terms of work-life balance, the pay, and the academia opportunities that you have there?
Um, so as for the pay, it's right now I'm just a resident, so it doesn't really matter that much. Obviously, as in future, the pay structure for pediatrics in general is a little limited because most of our population is covered by Medicare, which is a national insurance, and the basic idea of how you're paid in US depends on how many interventions you do. So the more interventional the branches, the more pay you get. But regardless of that, the pay is, I mean, if you compare your pay to being a resident in India or being a senior resident in India or being a practicing physician in India, you would be making way more than that. So I would say that's pretty good. But if you compare within specialties, it's not the most highly paid specialties because there's not much interventions unless you go to interventional branches like gastroenterology and cardiology, interventional cardiology, and all of that. So for me, I would say I always wanted to do pediatrics. That is something because of the kind of training we received from Kalavati. it had such a strong influence during my formative years, and I looked up to me in that environment. And most importantly, I would say, think about what kind of people you want to be with. It's not the attendings, it's not the patient load, it's actually the kind of residents you work with. If you look forward to being one of them in future and you enjoy the kind of vibes that you get from them, that is how you select a branch. Many people just end up selecting, like, end up doing stuff which is because they find it's fancy, it's highly sought after, it's really, really regarded. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't suit well with you, because every single day you're not going to be seeing all those interesting cases that you talk about. When you're talking about a branch, you won't be getting that much autonomy to start with. It takes a lot of time for you to build up your autonomy. You might not have the best experience every single day, but what you meet, what you see every single day is the cohort you're working with. And the residents I have here are wonderful. They have been one of the best people I've met so far. My The chief resident of my batch, she's one of the nicest people I know, and I'm using her MacBook because my laptop crashed, and fixing a laptop in US is draining your entire uh, salary. So she is a wonderful person. She's helped me in all the ways I could imagine, and she supported me just like a mom. So I would say that kind of experience, and it was very evident because something that retrospectively made me think that I'm really lucky to be here where I am, is because when I was doing my newborn nursery rotation, I was working in one of the adult hospitals, in our associated adult hospital across the street. And it was 4 weeks of rotation, and every single day I was like, what is happening to me? I just want to go back to children's. And I just missed being in the children's hospital so much that the day I ended the rotation and the day I had an off, I just went back to children's just to grab a Starbucks or just to grab a coffee and just to feel the vibes and feel happy about it. So it's just that feeling that really made me confirm that I'm in the right place. As to Pete's neurology, a lot of things, I wouldn't say a lot of things, I would just say a gut feeling. When I was preparing for my step exams, I really, really enjoyed reading neuro. I felt like I had a good control over that, and especially like when it comes to the academia, there's uh, a lot to discover. So I would say somehow like we have reached a kind of like a ceiling limit in other branches, where a lot of interventions are going on, a lot of head-to-head trials are going on. But in neuro, we are yet to discover a lot of basic fundamentals about certain pathologies, and it's always just interesting and kind of just boggles you in the way those diseases present. And what I really found attractive about that branch was no two patients are the same. They might present with the same features, they might present even with the same headache, but the kind of presentation and the way you detect is not going to be the same, especially when it comes to pediatric population. So the art of examination, the art of reaching to a diagnosis, the art of communication, so much communication skills are required for you to interact with the patient population and their parents, and supporting them throughout this journey is wonderful. And I feel like that cannot get better. And I'm not discrediting other branches and other specialties. It's definitely present in all the pediatric branches. Compared to adult branches, you're advocating a lot more than you are in adult branches. But peds neuro in general is just the fact that I have learned so much that I used to be a person who's like, quality depends over quantity of life. And you're dealing with so many complex cases, kids who have a really bad prognosis, whose quality of life through my previous lens would be like, they're just sitting in a wheelchair, stuck to a machine, stuck to their parents, and they can't really do anything that they can. What's the point of living a life like that? But when you meet with the parents there who are on point with every single intervention that we are doing to the child, they literally know every single drug, what it does. They know their child better than anybody, as us as a physician. And you see the spark in their eyes, the way they are just so joyous to take care of the child and just to meet all their needs. That drives you every day. And I was told by a resident why child neurology is such a sad branch. You're dealing with one of the most terminal cases and there's no hope ahead. But you fix somebody's unrelenting seizures all throughout these years. You fix somebody's muscle spasm. These are small ways that you do get joys. And being a physician is not about the heroic measures that you do. You intubate somebody and you save their life. It's not just that. Supporting somebody throughout their years of life, through their morbidity, seeing them achieve better control of that morbidity and come back to you in their best form, that in itself is also very rewarding. So it's just how you view being a physician and how you feel that ways. I would definitely urge you, anybody who wants to pursue pediatric neurology, is to see the practice itself. In Kalavati, we have wonderful physicians and we have a entire unit that caters to a lot of pediatric neurology patients. So see that, look into how it works, and then decide for it, and definitely get some experiences just to see if you are able to, just to see how the practice is, because it's a it's a big decision. It's a big commitment that you need to make, and it'll be hard for you to just reverse gear and come back to, okay, I don't like this, I want to do something else.
Very well. Now, just wanted to ask whether choosing the right program and like how do you choose the right program for yourself, and how do you go about picking up the right elective so that we're not just going haywire on that track.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say, first of all, knowing what you want to do, having a basic idea of what you want to do. Let's just say if you are interested in pediatrics, now you look at pediatric programs. Pediatrics has a lot of components. If we divide any specialty, just like any specialty, you have primary care that's happening, you have outpatient care, and then you have inpatient care. So if I want to gain experience in pediatric neurology, I want to see what outpatient care looks like, because 80% of the practice is outpatient care, 20% is inpatient. And inpatient transcends uh, from an ECU setting to a PICU setting to a ward setting, and mostly neurology happens as a consult service. So the factors that you take care of is that you want to get as much of a holistic experience as you want to. I would say there are two sorts of neurology services that happen here. You either have a consult service whereby you don't really have your inpatient team in the hospital, you don't have your own dedicated ward, like a GI ward or a hemato-oncology ward or a cardio ward, which is the case in our hospital. And you mostly consulted whenever a case pertaining to neurology comes to any of the floors, and then you go and look at the case. The other type of service is having a dedicated inpatient ward for neurology. So there you are working as a resident. You have your own patients admitted under you. So you're the primary care physician. That means you're the ones doing all the basic management of fluids and feeds and just like ancillary stuff, consulting other people from hemato-oncology or cardiology for all the things that your patient has. So you are doing much more than just neurology. So I would say, because neurology here is like a 5 year dedicated track, you have 2 years of pediatrics, you have 1 year of adult neurology, and you have 2 years of child neurology. In the first 2 years of pediatrics, you're working just as a pediatric resident. So you will be rotating through all the services on the floors, and you'll be doing exactly what the pediatric resident does. And I guess, and I feel like during that time, you learn a lot about primary management of the patient. Now it's your choice whether you want to you want a consult service or you want to work in an inpatient ward service. The work is way more when it comes to inpatient ward service, and most of the times you're just managing and tweaking their feeds, you're managing their fluids, you're managing if they pooped or they peed or not, and you're consulting with other services for them to consult your just to see your patient. So I would say dedicated urology experience gets limited because the fellows and the attendings would suggest you changes in the neurology aspect of it, and then you just do those changes and you'll still be a primary care pediatrician. So that was my opinion, because I liked having a consult service when I was rotating at shop, and I saw how we were consulted for several patients, and then we used to go to every place, and we used to just from a lens focus look at the neurology aspect, because you've learned all the overall management of the patient as a whole in your previous years. So that gives you more time to focus on neurology, take out all the other things and keep it in the background and do your academic work. So that is one thing that you need to look at. And top it all off is any place that's offering you clinical experience is a good place. So to start with, if you have to build up your experiences, these are the things you can look forward to. You can look at what is the residence structure, what is the call structure. I mostly looked at just fellowship opportunities. My university has all the fellowships that's ever needed by any resident. So we have a very holistic fellowship program. And if ever needed, not just like for future purposes, but even when I'm rotating as a resident, I have the opportunity to go into the neuromuscular clinic, to go into the sleep clinic, and to see how fellows practice there. And just to make a decision about my future, what I want to do ahead. So I'd say that was my biggest deciding factor. It is a very good program. It's been running for many years now, and it's situated in a place where we have a lot of immigrant population, we have a lot of underserved population, and the patient load is pretty high, and it's a freestanding hospital. So all these points really made me just make this my first choice, and this was my first choice. There was no thinking about it. So that's I really liked. So look into the peds program and the neuro program separately, how comfortable the residents are. For me, I'm somebody who learns a lot by numbers. I really wanted the patient load to be high. So if it's the only freestanding children's hospital, which it is, in a big radius of population, it gets a lot of referrals, it gets a lot of patients, and that is just the whole cake and the cherry on the top itself too. So I really like that aspect of it. So yeah, just to summarize everything, I would say if it's a freestanding hospital, a children's hospital, or if it's just a pediatric unit, that changes everything. I would prefer, because you guys have been trained in a freestanding children's hospital at Kalavati, you have seen how it really and compared to, let's say, MAMC, which has its own pediatric unit. So there's a lot of differences in practice there. Your practice in a pediatric unit is going to be dedicated by what the medical director in that hospital uh, puts out as policies. But in freestanding children's hospital, you can actually advocate as a pediatrician and for your parents, because a lot of stuff adult doctors just don't understand. When it comes to resource allocation, as a freestanding children's hospital, you get a lot more resources than a pediatric unit gets. So definitely the opportunities that you have as a resident increases tenfolds. The other thing would be if you're choosing a specialty, do attend the consult services and the inpatient services both, mostly for specialties like GI, hemonc, cardiology, pulmonology. You mostly have an inpatient service, so you do get the chance to have an inpatient experience. But if you ever come for a clinical experience, ask your attending if you can attend the consult service with other fellows if you don't get the direct opportunity to, because that's a different experience, because there you're just dedicatedly talking about the issue at hand and not the patient otherwise. Mm, that is and the last would be how comfortable the residents are. When you talk to the residents, you automatically get the vibe if they're really happy in the program. And I got the vibe immediately from this program and from other programs as well. So that vibe is either present or people are just faking it to an extent. And you will understand that when you see a lot of residents and you meet a lot of residents over interviews. So that's a later thing to talk about for people who are on the track of selecting programs. But in general, for looking for clinical experiences, I would say these are the points you should take care of before choosing any. Your efforts. The rest is all about really meticulous hard work that comes with data collection and just proofreading your draft again and again, running after your professors, making time out of your busy med school schedule and doing all of that. So it needs a lot of dedication. And so I would say everybody should try to, the least you could do is just whenever you're going through a topic and you feel like, okay, I don't know enough about it, just Google that, just Google that in PubMed, see for what's the latest development in that aspect is, learn how to start reading research papers so that you know what they're really talking about, how they really format a question, how they hypothesize a problem, and then they start about talking about it. So and we have the STS program that happens via the ICMR, and it's a great place to start and get funds for your research. And if you're applying for USMLE, almost every other applicant has done that. I personally did not do that because honestly, I wasn't aware of that at the right time and place, and it was too late for me to start it. But if you can do that, definitely go for that. If not, otherwise, you can just start by approaching your attendings, approaching the professors in the department who are interested in research. Go there with a problem statement, or not even a problem statement. I would say, okay, I'm interested in tubercular drug interaction with smoking, and how is that happening? How is that affecting the remission rate of TB, or just like the or if it's actually causing reinfections, and what is that happening? So if you have that, they'll ask you, okay, come up after you've read some papers. They'll be they'll be really interested to support you and be like, okay, so can you suggest me some papers, or can you suggest me some articles? So you start by doing a little of a literature review just to see what's there, what's not there, and what you can work on. Come up with the basic idea and the structure of a project, what you want to do, what you want to see, what should be the problem statement. Okay, I want to understand the interaction of, let's say, one of the TB drugs and smoking in a young adult population. So that's how you start by building a project. It's very difficult, I would say immensely difficult when it comes to being a med student, and in India especially. I tried to pursue a lot of research in different settings apart from Harding. It was very difficult because we don't have dedicated patient records. We don't have a system where we actually take care of patient records. And at the end of the day, they will not give you excuses from your clinical work to pursue research. So you need to have a lot of dedication, you need to have a lot of time. You need at least 6 months to think about a project, complete a project, and get done with the data collection. The data collection is the hardest part when it comes to doing research. So yeah, I would say talk to your seniors who've done this. They would be better able to advise you as to which professors to go to, which not to go to, what are the intricacies of it. And I would advise all the seniors to be not I mean, I've noticed this one thing that have always happened: if somebody's engaging in research, they keep it a lot to themselves. That is, I don't think that's a good approach. Nobody's going to steal your project, especially if you're doing that. If you're doing it and it's already in circulation, you've collected the data, you've brainstormed the idea, even if they try to replicate it, I don't think they might be able to do the same thing with the same stuff. So don't fear that your idea will be taken by people, or it'll be out there. Be really inclusive of everybody. Talk about it, so that the more we talk about it, the more the teachers understand that we as students are interested in research, at least a big chunk of research, so that we start reading papers. The professors have an impetus for them to discuss papers with us, or just reviews with us, or just understand how we go through a journal, how we start reading a paper, what do we interpret, what are the statistical methods. So if that happens with everybody in general, you'll have more power and more resources from the administration to take part in research. So it's very, very important for you guys to start talking about it, and express your interest as a group, rather than just one or two persons approaching one or two professors. So not all everything is a competition. Once you're in a medical college, you're there as a big batch. You're there and you're supporting each other. And whatever one person does, and if that person includes a lot of people, the more strength they gain and the more efficacious that project is going to be. I don't know if that answered the question, or if there's something else you wanted to talk about, because I can this would need another session separately if we talk about the intricacies of the project.
Maybe we can do another session, but I think this is much needed. Please take over.
Hi, I'll take over from here. I'm
Okay,
really sorry, my camera is not switching on. If it's just
that's
fine,
okay.
we could
Mhm.
continue likewise. So the next question that we had was, what is your point of view on observerships versus electives? Since most of the time we don't get electives as such, so how much difference would it make?
Also,
Personally,
like, if you could
sorry,
also
yes, go
if you
ahead.
could add something about financial considerations while we pick up an observership and an elective
Okay,
versus an
yeah,
elective.
that's a good question. So I would say there are two things: my personal experience and what's out there. Let's talk about what's out there first, and then I'll talk about my personal experience. what's out there. So for just the general purpose of it, clinical elective is something that they give you as a med student when you're still in medical school, you've not graduated, and where you have more of hands-on experience and you can actually take care of patients, have patients allocated to you, do their history, physical examination, work as kind of like a intern does or a med student does. You definitely can't put in orders for them, but you can suggest the plan and diagnosis. Observership is where they don't give you access to patient records. They don't give you, or if they give you access to patient records, you can't really take a patient or be like you're taking care of patients all throughout the day. So observership is definitely limited in terms of how much you can do compared to clinical electives. Now the question arises, if that distinction is hardcore. The answer is no. Even if it's an observership, a lot of times observerships are just for the sake of it. They do, depending on the attending in that practice, they let you have patient access, they let you interact with patients. And this happened with me in one of the institutions. I applied for the Harrington program at University of Miami, and it's a well established clinical experience program that was started for mostly Latin American population and to support them throughout this journey. So it's open to everybody across the world, and I would say obviously Indian students are the highest number of students that they get after Latin American students. So there, my professor was really generous with letting me have all the patients. He used to let me see the patients, take the history, present them every single day, and I could suggest interventions and they would put in the orders. And I was working head to head with the residents who were there. So again, it was called an observership, but I did exactly what a clinical elective student would have. Now, this doesn't happen in all the cases. It's more to do with how the universities, how which places you are rotating. If it's a well-established, a very, I would say, high regard university, it's kind of hard to convince the GME committee to issue you that sort of an experience. How much the autonomy the professor or the head of the department has, that also depends on that. So if you're able to, definitely, if you can get clinical elective, go for it. For me, I wanted to extend my internship, get a clinical elective, couple of clinical electives done, but I was not able to because of all the restrictions that we had. So I ended up doing observerships, but I was lucky enough to get that experience. If you end up with an observership, be enthusiastic. I want to see patients. I want to examine them. I want to be a part of the management and suggest changes in the management. Just show that enthusiasm. Don't be like, okay, this is an observership. I can stand in the background and do whatever I want to do. So you can make the most of any experience that is there. Now, the other question arises, what sort of letters of recommendations would you get? So again, there are two things that you derive out of that experience, something that you get to write on your CV and what letters of recommendations you get. Some places are very restrictive when it comes to letters of recommendations. Mind you, there are programs, especially in CHOP, where they do offer you observerships, but they have strict guidelines against issuing letters of recommendation because you've not interacted with patients that much. Even though I did that with my professor, she let me take up cases and present it to the team. But even she was limited by how much autonomy I could get in terms of examining a patient. So they had strictly said no LORs for these patients for the students. So I would say that is not a useful experience because you do need the LORs from there. If you feel you have sufficient experiences, because you need at least three LORs, out of which one could be a Indian attending or an Indian professor who's seen you closely or whom you worked with closely, and you can have the fourth LOR from everywhere. So if you think you've had those enough number of LORs, go ahead for the observership, just for writing in your CV that it was a very good institution. I got to see a lot of cases, and even that can be fruitful. But otherwise, prefer a clinical elective if you're getting one. So the the I would say the distinction is not very hardcore. It's blurred. It really depends from place to place. There are many factors that you need to take care of when it comes to that, in terms of how much autonomy would you be getting, would they be issuing you an LOR or not, and how much money it costs. I don't think there's any value in spending $5,000, $6,000 in getting experiences at Harvard or UAB or these big institutions Don't expect that you have had experience from there, you're going to get the interviews from there. Even if you get interviews from there, the basic fact that they're not accustomed to taking IMGs, that will not change. So it doesn't depend on how good you are as an applicant for them to take you. It just depends on the policies of the entire institution. If they're not IMG friendly, they're not IMG friendly, period. So it's more useful to get experiences in IMG friendly hospitals where you see it, the match rate is at least, I would say, 50% for pediatrics. I can say this for pediatrics. I've not done the research for IM. For IM, it's completely different. They are more and more conducive to IMGs. But for pediatrics, if it's at least more than 50%, prefer going to those places because you can leave an impression. You can make sure that you can get an interview out of that place, and you can work with those people, and you can look forward to being a resident in that place. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind when you're applying for your clinical experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Didi. We just have one more question for the day, then we'll switch to rapid fire. So, Didi, just like we know that the gap between finishing your internship and starting your residency for us is almost around 2 years or 2.5 years. So, can we expedite that process, or if not, then what all opportunities should we look for in that period?
So you mean like when we finish an internship and when we apply for a match?
Yeah, yeah.
That's not essentially 2 years. There are people who have matched in the subsequent years because they've been trying to they extended their internship, they applied for that year's match because say you graduate in 2020 and you apply for a 2021 match, 2022 match, you apply in 2021, you match in 2022. So essentially for any match purpose, it takes an entire year before you match when you apply. So that gap is regardless going to be present. I would say even if you try to fast track that process, 1.5 year of gap doesn't make that much of a difference. I would say that actually gives you an edge over just being a very fresh applicant. Definitely being a fresh applicant increases your chances of matching, but more than 2.5 becomes a little tricky for you to explain on your CV as to what you did. Again, there are people who end up doing their residency in India. They complete 3 years of post graduation and then they apply to United States, and they also match if they've built their CV holistically. So they are open to that, but they would prefer fresh applicants because then they've just seen that fresh applicants are so much more enthusiastic to do all the work compared to the ones who've actually done it. So what you can do is, if you can extend your internship, you can go for clinical electives, go for it. I would say that would be a very, very if you really like. I know some people who went for clinical electives who wanted to apply for the match and then ended up not applying for it and ended up pursuing the residency in India. That is entirely possible. Don't feel burdened by the fact that you've spent so much money in pursuing this clinical electives. That will always stay with you. You would have learned something more than what other people of your group know. But make that choice. Go there, see how the practice is. You're going to spend a lot of your time here, so you need to make that decision very wisely. Secondly, I would say the things that you can do is get these clinical experiences. You can engage in a research because you have fair amount of time after you pass out your final year exams. You don't have that, at least that impending doom situation that you might fail and you might not be able to complete your education. But once you're done, you have so much more time and you are working with the patient population. It's much more easier. I would say it was 50% easier for me to conduct a research project during internship, which I did not because of a lot of other factors. COVID was there and all. But if you're in an internship, you get the opportunity to do a research. You are going there to the wards every single day. Data collection becomes pretty easy and you're following up the patients. So you do get a lot of good opportunities. And the professors are seeing you every single day. They become a little, more helpful with you compared to somebody who's already graduated out of the hospital. That means you can actually, because a research does take time, you can show that you were doing a research for the 6 months while you were preparing for any exam or while you were doing something else, because they understand that research takes time, especially if you've conducted something. Now, again, it doesn't depend if you publish that paper or not. sometimes just presenting it, just being done with it, and complete when I mean gone through the process teaches you a lot of stuff which you can talk about in your application, and that gives you an edge over applicants who've not done it. So that is something that you guys can engage in. The other things, what I did was I ended up doing junior as a JRship, non-acad JRship, most importantly for financial purposes because USMLE journey is very draining. And also I mean, I wanted to work at that time when we had that COVID crisis happening, and a lot of workforce was required for serving the population. I wanted to work there before I could go and pursue my aspirations, and that is something that I did out of my choice. Um, that is plus minus, you can do, not do. And if you are doing, take care in consideration what you have to do, because getting done with your steps, getting done with your clinical experience is definitely more important than getting clinical experience in India. But if you want to do that for financial purposes and you think it's important, you can go ahead and do that as well. So, and you can also engage in research, remote research with professors or alumni who are here. If you say come for a clinical lecture, you can tell them that you're really, really interested in some research aspect. And if you can engage in a remote research, whereby you're associated with somebody who does the data collection for you, because it might be difficult for you to get patient access or epic access while you're in India, but you can definitely work out on the literature review and other aspects. So that is also one of the ways you can bridge the gap.
We wanted to know that do you have time enough right now, or should we just rush it over now? Like,
Um,
can you
Hold
take
on a
another
second.
question? Or
Eight, right? Okay, so I have, I would say, 20 more minutes because then I'll
okay.
have to go. It's a little tight on the schedule, so yeah, if we can open up for questions, then it would be pretty helpful
Uh,
for me.
Then just one more question. Like you mentioned that you intend to come back to India. So, what are your plans regarding that, and how have you pictured it out? If
Ah, that's at a very nascent stage right now. I'm trying to reach out to physicians. So I would say what my process is right now. It's 5 years of residency, and then I'll have to do some waiver jobs and some fellowships. So it's a long process for now, but the big shot is that I'm trying to reach out to physicians who've done the same before me, trying to understand what the complications are. A lot of things changes. Our MD degree is still not recognized. If you've done your MD from US, it's not recognized in India. But there are ongoing conversations about it getting recognized in future to bridge that gap. So if that gets recognized, it's going to be very, very helpful. But if not, then the options which I have come across is that engaging in private practice, and you can work with private institutions as consulting physicians, and work in India if you want to. It's still a very nascent stage for me to answer that question completely. But as and when I figure out, I will keep you guys updated.
Yeah, I would like to take over from here. Thank you so much for your sharing your valuable experience. Now, to lighten up the environment, we have a quick rapid fire round, and I'll ask you a
Amazing.
set of 10 questions, and you have to answer it quickly. Okay. So, your
Okay.
first question is, what is your favorite American dish?
American dish. I don't
Yeah.
like American food. But if I have to pick up, it's not American. I like sushi. It's not even American. I don't think there is anything to like about American cuisine. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. American guys or Indian guys?
Um, no, if I had the option of no guys, I would go for that, because all guys are definitely lacking a lot of emotional quotient compared to females. So I guess that's the effect of our being in Harding, being surrounded by so many amazing people. Your standards are just like, but yeah, somebody who's gone through all the settings and knows much more about the world than just medicine, if that's the answer.
Okay. And what's your favorite thing to do when you're chilling or relaxing?
Favorite thing to do? Good question. Getting my stuff done. I would really like to get done with the cooking, the cleaning, just like setting up stuff, organizing, going through my emails. And I would say just connecting with my peers. Now that I'm so far away, I want to connect with my juniors, my friends, and that's my favorite thing to do when I'm chilling.
Okay. And what's the one thing that you cannot survive without?
Oh, coffee. I cannot. If I
Yay.
had an option, I would inject it in me, but that's not an option.
What would you be if not a doctor?
Hmm. Good question. Hmm. Oh, okay. So I have two answers to that. If I had all the money in the world and I could be anything, I would be an astronaut and I would like to go to space. But if not, I think I would just end up being a journalist or just somebody who can travel around and report on stuff. So yeah, maybe just a journalist.
Interesting. What is that one movie which everyone else has seen but you haven't?
What everybody else has seen. Hmm. Uh, I think almost all the Bollywood movies, but I did see Rocky and Rani just because I was missing out and I felt I was having a little bit of FOMO, and all the ABCDs out here wanted to see that, which I feel was there. I think, abhi recently, then it would be Jawan. I think everybody has seen that, and I don't have any plans of seeing it anytime soon.
What's your hidden talent?
My hidden talent. Um, I would say I can get other people's deepest secrets out. They're very comfortable talking to me. So I feel that is there. I can make them cry, which
Very
is a good
sweet.
thing. You should be able to cry in front of others. So if you can do that, that's a very great skill.
Yeah. What's your pet peeve?
My pet peeve is when I'm talking and you're not paying attention. Which
Yeah,
you
understandable.
can do it, but then just let me know so that I don't waste my energy.
What is the most horrible food combination that you've tried?
Most horrible food combination. Mm.
Like Maggie with ketchup or fries
Oh,
with
that's a
cold
good combination. That's not horrible.
fries?
That's I'm on the side of having ketchup with almost everything, even parathas. So that's a good combination. Horrible combination. Okay, let me think about it. I think one of the mess combinations I feel. I would say from gastritis purposes, I really like the chole bhature and the chole bhature that we had, but that used to give me gastritis for hundreds of days to come by. I don't think it was very good on my GI, but it was definitely good on my palate.
Okay, one last question. If you could relive one day, what would it be? The first day of college or last day of college?
If I could delay,
If you
oh,
could
definitely not.
relive.
Oh, I could relive. I would relive all my college life, but definitely my internship year was my favorite year so far.
Okay,
It
thank
was.
you so much, Steve.
Yes, thank you so much. And I feel I hope it's a wonderful initiative that you guys have taken, connecting with seniors and having a platform for your seniors to reach out. And kudos to everybody. I know Bhavya has approached me. I know Ananya has approached me. Kudos to all these people who take out the time from their busy schedule for all their peers and their juniors. And it takes a lot of efforts because I was in that position, and I know how crazy it can be. And sometimes you just like you're just so angry at everybody because they don't support you as much. So I would, to everybody out there, be united, be there for each other, don't be bitchy. You'll have entire life to be bitchy about. You can be bitchy to your co-residents, that's fine because you are competing with them for your work. But as med students, as your friends, they're going to stay there for the rest of your life. So the more united you are, the easier your life is at Harding. And reach out to your seniors and demand stuff to be done in a good way, and not the crazy ways of just rioting around, but in a good and sensible way.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for being
Thank
here.
you so much, Dee.
It
Thank
was a
I know
you.
Bhavya,
pleasure hearing.
absolutely, and I know Bhavya wanted to ask something, right?
Sorry?
Were you asking something, Bhavya?
No, no, no.
Okay, great. All the very best to everybody in whichever years you are. Okay, before I leave, Palak, which year you are?
The first year.
Oh, your first year. Wonderful. It's so So cute. Oh my God. Okay. I feel so old now. And Ananya?
Um, I think she is busy with her
Okay.
workshop or something, which she is in second year,
She's in second
21
year now.
batch.
Beautiful. I love how all our first years and second years are so enthusiastic about such work. And Bhavya, remind me, you're 2 years junior to me or 3 years junior to me?
I'm 19 batch, 4 years junior.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I feel old now. I should have not asked this question. I still feel like I'm just pretty small, but I feel like yeah, I know a lot of batches have come across. But stay united, support each other, and I love the work that you guys are doing. And you can reach out to me with whatever questions you are. It'll be easier if you guys, take care of all the questions and you can just give it to me in one place. And if you ever come to Dallas, I'm always here. So, yep.
Thank you, Dee. I think we sign up now. Leave you be to
Yes.
your internship and your postings.
Yes, please go ahead. All the very best, guys, and sending you a lot of love.
Thank you, Dee. Bye bye.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you for